So, why is toxic boys love so popular? Are yaoi fans okay? The short answer is no, probably not, but the anime boys piece us back together again over and over, no matter how the world may knock us down. Before I get into this, I want to preface by saying that while I am an avid enjoyer of BLs, I do recognize that their work of fiction and do not represent the LGBTQ+ community totally accurate all the time. Personally, I'm the type of BL fan who craves pain and agony that will haunt me for all eternity. Something that I have wondered about for the past 10 or so years as a girl who consumes this genre of psychopathic boys love is, why do I keep coming back to it? And why am I so numb to the glaringly toxic behaviors of these yaoi men? A majority of the time, I find myself intentionally seeking out main love interests who are sadistic, cruel, and just evil. Let's take a look at some of my favorite tropes. Enemies to lovers. This is healthy. Exes to lovers. It must be love this time, right? Manipulative boss and employee. Where is HR? Revenge. I know he killed your family, but like, what if you date him? Blackmail. This is affection. Actual psychopaths. Ignore the corpses on the floor, it's ambiance. Am I a masochist? An idiot? Is that what I want in my life? I'm a fan of many tropes. Romance, drama, action, gag, etc. But the one genre that I find myself going back to most often as a guilty pleasure or a routine pick-me-up has always been toxic BL. The tropes in BL vary as far as the imagination can go. From lighthearted romances between classmates to heavily abusive power dynamics, yaoi has it all. And a lot of the popular toxic tropes lead to more heavily intense categories like abuse, non-con, violence, etc. And from the outside looking in, these stories seem crazy, and you wouldn't be wrong about that. A lot of BLs are fucking crazy! Moving on to an example of a currently ongoing popular BL, we have Jinx, where a young man in severe debt ends up working for a pro wrestler as his live-in physical therapist, with benefits. While the premise itself sounds interesting and kinda spicy, what really lures you in is the fact that technically, yes, this is a romance. There is an unspoken promise that eventually this dynamic will turn into some sort of love. Is it romantic whatsoever? No! The main character is aggressive, predatory, and a total piece of shit! Will I read every single chapter immediately like a puppy dog waiting for a treat? Yes. But why? Why? Am I assuming that the two main characters will end up madly in love despite showing every red flag of a relationship in this universe and beyond? Why do BL fans crave to read such insanely toxic content that would send a real person into a coma? In reality, if any of the situations that a yaoi protagonist went through happened to me, even remotely in any capacity, I would crash out. I would not want anything to do with the toxic men of yaoi. They're insane! But the conclusion I've come to is this. We are coping! From the beginning of the era of romance fiction, it's no secret that we wanted to fix male protagonists. The bad boy trope is nothing new. Predating BL, these violent but sexy types of main characters have existed and won over our hearts in every form of media. There's an undeniable attraction to the power and strength of these characters who won't let anything or anyone get in their way. It's not just the violence. Although an anime man beating the shit out of someone else is hot as hell on its own sometimes, but their violence has a purpose. Usually. Behind the attraction to the strong, impulsive asshole who has never truly loved someone in their life is the idea that they would change for someone they love. The character that has never cared for anything but themselves over time is portrayed in these stories to be capable of having their heart utterly melted. The stoic rock of an anime man can be changed. His cold, brutal heart can blossom into that of a caring protector. And through fixing the unfixable, there is real love. In other words, in the heart of a BL fan are the tortured words, "I can fix him!" And this resulting love is beyond that of normal human standards. It's one that revolves solely around one person, the only one that they could possibly care about, that they would do anything to protect. They would turn the world over in a heartbeat if it meant protecting their love interest, even if their feelings are one-sided. I believe that this level of emotion is a primary reason that BL fans keep coming back to progressively higher levels of insanity in yaoi. Though the plots themselves make it harder and harder to understand why we're drawn to them, at their core is the desire to see the undoing of terrible men as they feel something for each other. But have we lost sight of the original goal? If 50 chapters of a BL go by without a single shred of kindness from the love interest, is it still reasonable for romance to blossom between the two main characters? Are we latching onto these tropes without putting thought into the character development? And is this lack of consideration potentially warping audience expectations for what is considered acceptable conditions for love to flourish between two people? Of course, all of this is fiction, and technically, what the author wants goes. Stories don't have to make sense. In fact, a majority of them don't make sense logically, and that's the appeal of it. Regardless of the setup, any BL is capable of producing a fairy tale happy ending if they desire. Could it be that the world is so cruel we need to consume toxic yaoi to know that love can overcome all evil? There is comfort in knowing that most, if not all BL, ends in flourishing romance. Be it well written or just slapped together, poor dynamics and communication skills thrown aside 99% of the time, all yaois will generally end with the pairing you're following getting together once and for all. It's the long game. It's the ultimate climax. It's the reward after hours of binge reading and trauma bonding with the characters for the hell that they went through to kiss and fuck each other. Somehow, 99% of BL authors have an unspoken agreement that the main lead in every yaoi will get love in some form, despite it all. I'm trying to say that the best BL stories are the ones where despite everything, their love flourishes, despite the trauma, despite the pain. It's the opposite of doomed Yuri. BL couples generally stay alive and end up together. Not always for the best, but they very rarely let a couple break apart at the end. Shout out to doomed Yuri sufferers who live in constant fear of their ship tragically being pulled apart in every story. And that is what keeps audiences coming back. The question of, how bad can it get before they inevitably fix it? And how will they fix it? It's like watching one of those stressful action movies where everything goes wrong, but you know somehow it'll all be resolved, and you just can't look away. I personally love the popular trope, enemies to lovers, POG! But enemies to lovers is an art. To be believable, it has to be well thought out and crafted over a long period of time. We crave a flourishing toxic romance, but it's much more satisfying when it is executed thoughtfully. Rather than months of abuse and toxicity with no character development, an actual love relationship between two characters feels most satisfactory when the abuse slowly turns to care and consideration. Sure, the insufferable scumbag of a protagonist may not turn 180 degrees, but they will at least begin to gradually show signs of affection. And the BL authors seem to know this as well. We recently received an author's note on Steel Under Silk that the speed in which their main character Yeonjo seemed to be harboring affection for an quote, irredeemable scumbag who slaughtered this poor boy's families and subsequently abuses him, quote, saying, "This raised our own eyebrows as the creators," and promising to focus more intentionally on the development of a budding romance. This is maybe the most delight I've ever felt at a hiatus notice. Now, did the authors follow through on this promise? No comment. It's not over yet, guys. We don't know. Anything could happen. But I do strongly feel that quality conquers quantity in BLs, and I really support authors taking as much time as they need to flesh out an enemies to lovers trope that feels real and satisfying. When a BL is toxic and it doesn't fully flesh out the romance aspect, in my opinion, it is no longer a romance, it's a psychological horror. Why are all BLs these days psychological horror? If I wanted to suffer that badly, I would be reading Killing Stalking, which I will never be doing again, by the way. At the end of the day, no matter how hard real life may be, there is an odd comfort in knowing that our gay anime men will be there to bully and fuck each other over and over, forever. Anyway, all this to say, I can't stop consuming toxic yaoi and I am begging for your help. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Thanks.